The concept of a free, unfettered internet through which Canadians can speak, learn, and communicate without the permission of the state came under attack recently. Not by Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping or some other champion of disinformation and government control. According to MLI senior fellow Peter Menzies, this attack took the form of a series of invasive and unjustifiable recommendations made by a Canadian government panel. For more than 25 years, a free and profoundly democratic internet has thrived in Canada, carrying the work of news reporters, opinion writers, bloggers, and YouTubers to eager audiences in Canada and around the world. At the same time, broadcasting has been heavily regulated, largely in the name of preserving Canadian culture, under a regime that is almost universally acknowledged to be obsolete, when Canadians can access any content they like from anywhere at any time. Rather than admitting the failure of these protectionist policies, however, the members of the Broadcasting and Telecommunications Legislative Review Panel have decided, in a breathtaking exhibition of bureaucratic hubris, that the way ahead lies in massively expanding those traditional broadcasting content regulatory powers. The report didn't just call for the extension of broadcasting content regulation to the internet. That would have been unsettling enough. It went much further, calling for sweeping intervention by Ottawa that would make all online media subject to government regulation, including audio, audiovisual, and digital news content. For such draconian bureaucratic overreach to be justified, there must be compelling evidence of the failure of the status quo. But on the contrary, the panel's report is a solution in search of a problem. Online entertainment providers today have created unheard of levels of prosperity within a creative sector that produces almost $9 billion of products annually. While print media have struggled to transition to online distribution, new and innovative platforms have multiplied. YouTube alone has produced unsubsidized stars such as Lily Singh and Justin Bieber, and created, according to a Ryerson University study, 24,000 jobs. Yet the government panel decided that prosperity must be an illusion unless it is the result of the state telling people what to do. And it wants to achieve this allegedly benevolent control by an expansive redefinition of broadcasting. If you transmit, for commercial purposes, words, video, or voice through the internet, text messages, fax, or phone line, in the panel's brave new world, you could do so only with the permission of a federal agency. That is, if the report's recommendations were adopted by the federal government. That's right. After more than a century of non-interference in speech through telecommunications, the panel recommends that the state determines what constitutes, for example, news. The content of virtually every online information source, magazines, newspapers, subscription newsletters, real estate listings, travel advisories, weather reports, relationship advice, think tank analyses, craft beer reviews, and the latest Ukrainian borscht recipe could be subject to the stern eye of Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission bureaucrats. But the panel didn't even stop there. New legislation would also apply to commercial media originating from outside the country, whether or not they have a place of business in Canada. One can assume this means not just Netflix, but the New York Times, the Daily Telegraph, video games, and who knows how many sites of an adult audiovisual nature may at some point be ordered to offer Canadian content. Not all will have to be licensed. The panel suggests possible exemptions, but all will be required to register and contribute in an appropriate manner to the creation, production, and discoverability of Canadian media content. Sure, the panel also made a number of sensible recommendations, for which it should be commended. The suggestion that the CBC be weaned off accepting advertising is particularly welcome. So too is the consolidation of organizations supporting the 2/3 English, 1/3 French creative funding pools. Yet among the 97 listed recommendations, there is nothing about safeguarding the independence of the regulator of news from political interference or improving transparency regarding its decisions. Consumer issues are generally dealt with through talk of reviews, studies, and consultations. Overall, the panel very clearly saw the internet primarily as a new but as yet untamed servant of the Canadian content industry. In doing so, it produced a series of recommendations that display a profoundly backward-looking and ill-informed view of modern communications. All this when there was little evidence of a real problem of a lack of Canadian cultural content and lots of evidence that any such problem could have been solved through targeted direct government funding. But the panel opted instead for making the internet and all its subscribers pay with their wallets and their freedom. The only winners would be a small, disgruntled segment within an otherwise flourishing and entrepreneurial creative sector. I'm Brian Lee Crowley for the Macdonald-Laurier Institute.